Hey, what's up, everybody? Tyler Adolfo here. I hope that you are all having a wonderful day. Thank you for joining me. I want to first begin by actually thanking everyone for the support on the last video. I uploaded a video a couple days ago about my weight gain with bipolar disorder. If you want to check that video out, it's called I Gained 150 Pounds in 1 Year After Starting Bipolar Medications. And that video has already amassed around 500 views since I last checked it, which is right before I started recording this. So that's really huge for me. I don't normally get that amount of views, so I greatly appreciate that. On deck and ready for this one. Got a serious topic. So for this video, I'm going to be discussing the most extreme things that I said, did, and individually believed while I was in a manic state with bipolar disorder. For those who are new here, I do have bipolar disorder type 1 with psychotic features. And boy, let me tell you, did I have a psychotic episode. I refer to this time period as myself being the delusional auctioneer. And I know those of you who are bipolar or know someone with bipolar that you know exactly what I mean, that no explanation is needed there. But why don't we get right into it? I'm basically going to just kind of go chronologically, and you'll notice how things progressively got worse and worse as time went on. And it's really sad, so brace yourselves. But to put your context, I'm in college while this is all happening. It's my fall semester of junior year, just a few semesters away from being the first in my family to graduate. I'm in a frat. Yes, I know. I used to be cool. That was back then. I'm not anymore. But why don't we get right into it? So it kind of started off with me just taking on a bunch of different projects and being involved heavily in many different things. So I was the social media chair for my college fraternity, and I lived in the house. And over time, I kind of just kept taking on more and more things. So in addition to being a full-time college student, being involved in clubs and extracurriculars, I also started taking on projects with my social media position and tried using it to influence campus. So for example, there was some controversy with another frat with regards to a sexual assault that happened. And sexual assault is such a major, serious issue on every college campus, but especially the one I went to, UMass Amherst. So I thought I'd use our social media page to fundraise and draw our attention to sexual assault and different resources that are available to survivors, and so basically fundraise money for some local groups like NRAPE on campus and so forth, as a way to kind of see some progressive change in the community instead of just putting out a statement saying we condemn this, if that makes sense. But I actually had a lot of success with that project. I poured over 50 hours into it, and it ended up getting covered in the New York Times. I kid you not. If you type my name, Tyler Adolfo, New York Times, there's actually a paragraph where they quote me talking about this project, and they have a link to the project page where you could view the work that I put together with a small team of brothers at the fraternity. So that kind of gave me like some delusional confidence. I was like, wow, I just got in the New York Times for this. Now I could take on these other things. So I started brainstorming ideas for mental health and doing a big mental health event. I started brainstorming ideas for really all kinds of different things. I remember at the time, a racist letter came out that was sent to black student organizations, and I swore to myself that I was going to find the person or organization who did it. And there was a whole investigative agency that was never able to figure this out. This idea that me, at the time, this 23-year-old guy, was going to determine who did this and hold them accountable was ridiculous. But in my mind, it made perfect sense because, I'm the one who had the success with the sexual assault fundraiser. And, I'm also going to have success with this mental health thing. So I'm taking up all these projects, and that leads to me staying awake for an extremely long amount of time. I'm talking days. Even before people could consider calling me crazy. So, for example, while I was working on the sexual assault awareness project, I was awake at one point for 5 days, and that's not cap. I was awake for 5 days, like not sleeping at all. And that probably helped lay the foundation for being a huge trigger to the manic episode that would follow. And over the course of the semester, I would lose more and more sleep. At one point later on, I started sleeping with knives next to my pillow because I was afraid that people were going to get me. And I ended up getting a lot of energy. I started walking and running about 15 to 20 miles per day on my little phone tracker. I used to joke with the other guys about how many I have. They would show me their phone stats, and they would have like 3 to 6 miles over the course of the day. And then on mine, you would just see 20. And it's like, wow, okay. And I'm talking like walking and running to the point where my feet were completely covered in blisters. It was healthy and unhealthy at the same time. It didn't help that during a lot of these manic runs and manic walks, I was also drinking. So that didn't necessarily help. This led up to, the projects, the lack of sleep, the increased energy. It led to me trying to hold a press conference at Campus Pond. And I was very upset at the time. I definitely was suicidal, although at the time I would emphatically deny it. I felt like I was underappreciated and that people weren't seeing the value that I brought. And that no matter how hard I tried, it would never be enough, that I would never be good enough for anybody, that nobody would ever appreciate all of the hard work that I do, which of course wasn't true, but I also had a delusional, grandiose idea of how much I was actually doing. That was a big part of it. So as a result of trying to hold this press conference at Campus Pond, and the press conference was to expose sexual assault that was not happening inside my frat. I had this delusional idea, this belief that this was going on. And this is when I started to have like schizo-paranoid beliefs that became very, very strong. And I genuinely believed them. Every aspect and bit of it. And I regret it strongly, but I believed every word of it. And so that's why I was trying to hold the press conference. I ended up going to the psych ward. And in the psych ward, while I was there, I would write up these like long notes, these essays on things that they can improve inside of the psych ward. The nurses absolutely loved it. I, for some reason, still had access to my phone while I was in the psych ward. They let you use it for like an hour a day. And so I would use it and I would post like that they kidnapped me, that I was being held against my will, that I was going to get the governor to come release me, the military to come release me, that I know a top general in the Air Force. And these are all things that I literally believed. They were literally truths to me, which are some extreme things to believe. And when I left the psych ward, I wasn't much better. They didn't put me on any medication. I left in a far worse position than I was before. It's not arguable. And at that point in time, I lost trust in everybody. So, I was tired but had a lot of energy. I lost trust in people and establishments. I felt like I had nobody to go to, that nobody believed in me, that nobody appreciated me. And it was a tough situation. And things only steadily got worse. My beliefs got worse. I eventually developed a fear that the Nazis were after me. And I don't know how this started, but I started slowly getting into geopolitics, writing up lengthy emails, kind of similar to how the essays I wrote while in the psych ward. All right, so the video cut out there because I had an alarm on my phone. That's really unfortunate. I am sorry about that. So if you notice, there's going to be a cut in the frame. That's simply because my alarm went off and the recording ended. But I was talking about how I started getting this fear of Nazis, and I started accusing everybody around me of being a Nazi. And I thought that my own house was wiretapped, so I would destroy property in my apartment that I thought was being wiretapped, and I would throw it outside. It was pretty crazy. And it got worse from there. During campus move out, I actually ended up getting into a fight that got me arrested. And this was the worst part of my manic episode in terms of the damage it dealt and the consequences it had on me personally, because this fight resulted in me being expelled by my university. And it really started the downward spiral for everything. But I spent 5 days in jail. And, while I was in jail, I was still super manic. After getting into that small fight and going into the jail, Still super manic. I was scared for my life. And while I was in jail, I thought that like my prison inmate, what do you call it when they're my roommate, I guess, who was sharing a cell with me, I thought he was going to kill me. And I'm so thankful to God that I didn't do anything irrational in that situation, because I was operating from an irrational state of mind. But I had my self-defense on guard, and I was very worried that something might happen to me. Thankfully, I didn't. But I get out of jail, and I'm still manic, still haven't been treated. So at this point, I had been at the hospital, I had been at the jail. I'm now leaving, and I still haven't been treated. I would end up going for treatment, but the medications wouldn't kick in time for my university appeal expulsion meeting. I was expelled by my university because they heard about the fight from none other than yours truly. I posted to social media something along the lines like, this is a big conspiracy to come after me, and that I knew about the snipers in the woods, and, totally delusional things. The university expelled me based off that information. They got a copy of the police report, and at the university board appeal hearing, I just made the biggest fool out of myself. I accused one of the guys who was hosting it of being a cover-up artist for rapists on campus, and it was like just a big cluster of emotions pouring out at once. But yeah, those are the most extreme things that I did while manic. These are just some of many. I kind of just picked the ones that were notable to me and that still stick out and are memorable, because this was a while ago now. This was from the fall 2021 college semester and branching into spring of 2022. So it's hard to remember every bit and piece of that manic episode, but these are the parts that still stuck out and that I still remember. But these are the most extreme things I said, did, and believed while manic. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you leave a like. If you can relate, maybe share in the comments below a little bit about your experience of delusions that you've held, or things you said that you can't believe that you did while manic. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you're new. I have other content related to bipolar disorder on my channel, as well as a lot of other interesting stuff too. I used to be a public speaker before this all happened to me. Check out some of my speech competitions or something like that. Lots of cool stuff on my channel to check out, but appreciate you all for watching. Thank you, and have a wonderful day.